antlers, assumptions, and artillery. After their little heart-to-heart, in a minute of just being with each other, Holly and Bjorn head back towards Martha. But before conversation can begin again, there's a booming sound and Martha jumps. "What was that?" Martha asks. "Indirect fire training and pest control," Bjorn says before he hears some cheering. "Oh, the guests are getting a show." "You know, I think they might be here," Holly says. "Maybe. We did have plans for tonight. Same plan as every night, but the new place is still pretty new and they like it," Bjorn says as he mentally calculates how to get up to them, and the nearest reliable way up is a jump pad. Of course they like it. The undaunted DJ war isn't even half done. "Who do you think's winning this round?" Holly asks. "DJ ANTZ. That crazy Drines spins 6 at a time blindfolded. He can still sense the booth flawlessly with his antenna," Holly counters. "I know, but it's the showmanship. Spinner 9 has showmanship. That 9-part girl holds up the table with her lower claws, and 6 of her dance with the crowds even as 3 of her work the table," Holly replies. "But Lidris are kinda cheaty when it comes to multitasking. Dren only have one brain to coordinate all the extra limbs," Bjorn says, and Holly rolls her eyes. "It's supposed to be who's the best at it, not who's putting in more effort or—" Holly begins only for a second round of indirect fire to cut her off in the cheers of the crowd above. "Is it really treated like a show?" Martha asks, much calmer this time. "Oh yes, long story short, very long story short, is that the worms are more or less universally hated, but just wiping them out is illegal. So using them as a target of convenience when they're too close to the archaeology in numbers is seen as a good thing. It technically gets around a lot of restrictions. Why would wiping out something universally hated be illegal?" Martha asks, and Bjorn taps his head. "Remember the history of Zalwar? Why is it still an Arctic planet despite only a very small percentile of the galaxy preferring these environments? For you, this world is only a touch dry but otherwise perfect. But most everyone else thinks it's too cold, too windy and barren." "Oh, right, the lockdown over terraforming the world. Wiping out an apex predator would be a form of terraforming," Martha realizes. "Exactly," Bjorn says before pointing the way. "Let's get to the nearby jump pad. It'll get us up to the viewing balcony above." "I don't know how to use them," Martha says. "Don't worry. Holly's plenty good at them now and we can both carry you with ease." Bjorn says, Oh, am I not enough alone? You know my mom's married, right?" Holly teases and Bjorn just gives her an odd look. And after a moment she smirks and hefts her breasts. "Oh, fine. You do seem to like girls. Unspoiled." "Oh, your mother isn't that old. Just show me how to make the jump. My job may be boring, but it's full of angles and vectors to consider." "I'll be fine," Martha says with a wave. "Besides, a slimmer stature is proof you're a mother still getting it on the regular." "Slimmer," she says, Bjorn notes to himself. "Don't compare us to your flat and deflated human girls. There was a slight scare of some kind of communal disease showing on the women of the Dauntless when you first arrived. Well, pardon me for not evolving to use axiom then. Very inconsiderate of the genus Homo sapiens to not think about the impression our appearance would make on the galaxy outside our little part of the galaxy that operates under entirely different physical laws." Bjorn's sarcasm is thick and dry, and Martha snorts in amusement. "So long as you know what you did wrong, we can work on it," she says, and he huffs as Holly laughs. It takes only a few minutes to find the jump pad. It's in one of the few curated and controlled parts of the park. The trees are trimmed around it to give you a clean line of sight upwards to the pad several stories up. "All right, Mom, these things are easy. Face the direction of the arrow, align the body, take note of the angle and distance, and pull in all the axiom you need for the jump. Also keep off the X, that's the part others are landing on. And if you're jumped onto while in that area, it's legally your fault for both your own injuries and that of the jumper," Holly explains. "Now, if our lovely assistant would step forward, please." Bjorn doesn't move, so Holly tries again. "If our lovely assistant would stop forward, please. If you're talking about me, then lovely isn't going to apply. I'm not lovely." He teases and she reaches over and picks him up by the jacket with one hand to put on the proper part of the pad. "Fine. Thank you," she says. Bjorn crouches a little and begins to pull axiom as he judges the distance. Note how he's reinforcing his entire body to make the jump, and how his legs only have a higher concentration. A lot of people get hurt by just pumping their legs full of power and forgetting that not only is the whole body connected, but the whole body is moving. It also means the axiom is already there and can be shifted into something protective. If you make a mistake and slam into something, that's very important too. The best advice for the first few jumps is take your time and stay calm. If you're calm, you can handle anything that might happen, Bjorn says. See you at the top. Then he jumps and rockets up past the trees to crest a full 5 meters above his landing pad before gravity grabs him again and he plops down onto it. I need to use these more. I've had too many good leg days since the last time. He steps to the side to not impede the landing point of the pad, but stays on it just in case Martha needs some assistance. And she does. She crests the jump too early and would miss the pad entirely if he didn't step out to grab her. And her antlers start glowing to find her teleporting to be next to the pad on the safe side. I didn't panic, she says. I didn't say you did. He replies, stepping back from the edge. He then gets an idea, and as Holly comes rocketing up and overshoots, he takes a few steps and holds out his hands. Her hooves meet his palms and he takes the impact. There's a moment of instability, and he holds Holly over his head as the well-built woman giggles at the sight. Martha has her communicator out and is snapping photos for later. A little toss and he holds his left arm for her to land, sitting on his shoulder and upper arm. Holly lets out a laugh, but Bjorn is playing it cool as he points the way. Anyways, the viewing area is just over there. Do you two have any idea how silly you look? Carib might not be much taller than humans, but my little girl is still big enough that it looks like she should carry you instead. What do you want out of me? Titan Squad level size? Titan Squad? They use axiom techniques to grow to the size of bull canidors with all the sheer strength that implies. They're anti-armor even when they're unarmed. Don't bull canidors grow even larger than normal? Martha asks. Bull canidor? Holly asks. When a canidor man starts having children, they start growing bigger and stronger as a sort of protective measure. They become even heavier than average too. They're basically defensive killing machines at that point, Bjorn explains. Why do you know that? I have a friend on the Titan squads. We bump into each other a lot, but we do different things, so we rarely hang out. Oh, really? Why haven't I met him? Holly asks. Just coincidence. I haven't been hiding you from him or anything. It's just timing. Bjorn says, actually, he should have come off. Oh, look, there he is. He points to a gigantic figure of a man stepping out among the crowd on the viewing platform and leaning against a wall to avoid blocking someone's view. What's his name? Crow. He calls me Bear. How does that make any sense, House? Martha asks him. Crow is his name translated and Bear is my name translated. Of course, we're both translating them literally. Calling someone Bjorn means that you want the child to have the strength, endurance, or resilience of a bear. But that's a bit much for a name, so I'm Bjorn or Bear. Actually, I do have another question. I've noticed many different generalities in human faces and skin tones. What does that mean? Is it just family lines or something else? A bit of both. The homeworld has a lot of mountains, oceans, and flatlands dividing continents, meaning there are numerous different environments that different tribes were stuck in for a long time. So they adapted. I come from a colder part of the world. He comes from one with more drastically shifting weather. I'm Scandinavian. Swedish to be accurate. He's a Cherokee Native American. Both perfectly human, but different. Oh, I see. Like how my husband's ancestors are Gael Carib and I'm a Brush Carib. So little Holly has her daddy's fur nice and shaggy to keep her warm and safe no matter how windy. Exactly, Bjorn says as they enter the crowd, and Crow outright laughs at the sight of their approach. Bear, when I said I'd like to meet her someday, I didn't mean for you to pick her up and carry her over, the giant of a man says in amusement. So I should turn around? Bjorn calls to him and he waves it off. Of course not. Bring her over. I'd like to meet the little lady that drove you up the wall until you broke. Crow says, and they certainly have the attention of the crowd now. Oh, there are some whispers. You can all calm down. She flirted until she won. Nothing scandalous. Bjorn calls out and Holly still hides her face in embarrassment. Gotcha back, big girl. Please stop, she says, but there's a slight hitch of laughter in there. He sets her down and she sighs before looking at him. The returning grin is impudent and playful. She gestures him to lean in close, and he does. She then whispers in his ear, "If my mother wasn't here, I would be dragging you back to the apartment so we can see who's really in charge here." "You could do that anyways," he answers, and she pauses. Fun when the boot's on the other foot, isn't it? She puts an arm around his shoulder and looks him right in the eyes. The playfulness is still there. "Now, when my mother's here? Turn around is fair play. You get me in front of my fellows, now I got you." He answers and she huffs, but it devolves into laughter. There's massive movement as Crow crouches down to simply loom over them and not outright tower. "Has she always been like this?" he asks. "My little girl, it was at least partially there," Martha says, dragging Holly back into the here and now. Her eyes widen in embarrassment, and Bjorn chuckles as he puts an arm around her shoulders. Although him flirting and playing back is quite the thing, "We're safe here, which means I can relax," Bjorn says, something that someone needs a reminder of. If she wants to tease without retaliation, we need out of this arcology. "But I wasn't teasing you." "Not today, but remember yesterday?" Bjorn asks. "You're a vengeful bastard, Bear," Crow says with a smile. "So if this is the first time you've met my daughter, then what about Mr. Veers here? Anything juicy about Bear?" Martha asks, and Holly gives her a grateful look. "Oh, Bear. Well, he's undaunted, which means he's too energetic, too skilled, and too much everything to not get in trouble." "Oh, really?" Martha asks. "Yes, really. In fact, first time I bumped into him was when he was changing pants after his latest round with the brand, had him make a bit of a mess, and let me tell you, compared to the next time, it was the height of dignity to see him walk uncomfortably with the phantom feeling of foulness," Crow offers. "I've got just as much on you, big guy. After all, you're the dummy that—" Bjorn begins before there's a series of booms as the next round of artillery goes off. "Well, that's me, cut off. I told you I spotted—" "Oh, Holly, hunky!" "Huh, a very peppy voice suddenly calls out, and a rabbi's woman happily bounces up to them both, hugging Holly before giving Bjorn a kiss. "I'm looking forward to tonight. The DJ war is just past the halfway point. It's going to be so... Oh. You look like Holly. Who are you?" "Her mother, Martha," Martha states. "Nice to meet you. I'm Irma. Holly's been nice enough to let me and my galpals in with her, man. They're so strong, and they really know how to have fun." "Holly knows how to have fun. I'm just along for the ride," Bjorn says. "Galpals?" Martha asks. "Well, there's me and Solace and Lils and Vera. They're all Lirak cousins. The man clearly appreciates his girls soft and cuddly, if you get my meaning," Irma says cheerfully, before leaning in conspiratorially. "Oh my goodness," Bjorn says, covering his face. "Ha," Holly says with the smuggest look.